Hi, and welcome to Lunch for the Soul. I'm Melissa Wilson in the Fox 26 newsroom. So happy to welcome you here. We have an interesting conversation today. How many of us have tried to lose weight through the years? It's so hard to lose even 5 pounds. But I tell you what, I am about to introduce you to a real go-getter who was able to lose a ton of weight, and it really transformed his entire life into what he's doing today to help other people in the same position. So without further ado, let's bring in Jason Poff. Jason, welcome to Lunch for the Soul. I'm so happy you're here.
Hey, nice to see you.
Well, good to see you. You got to catch us up to date and talk about what was going on in your life. So you started out, we're just going to get right to it, at 335 pounds, and you're now down to 185.
Actually, 165 as of this
Oh,
morning.
you've come way down since the last
Yeah,
I heard.
yeah.
165 it is. Okay, and then I just want to show people, we're going to start with your journey. At this, to see the before and after pictures is pretty shocking. So this is where you were in the beginning of this journey. Tell me about, and by the way, sick of bears.
Yeah.
I love talking to a fellow bear. What was going on in your life then? What was happening, and what made you decide to make a drastic change in your life?
Yeah. So, it's 335 pounds. I am diabetic. I'm still diabetic. But I had, quite a few health issues that were coming up. And I wanted to make sure that I was going to be there for my family. But what really kind of shocked me into all of this was I was meeting with one of my doctors, and she goes, "Mr. Poff, how long have you been diabetic?" I said, 10 years. She said, "Well, the first 10 years are free." She says, "And from here, you start paying for it." And it can be, losing your sight. It can be losing your feet or your hands. It can be, just generally just not going to be here. And that scared me. You hear these sort of things, but yeah, that scared me into kind of trying to really look into it. So that's when I started down this path of,
Well, first of all, I feel like it's almost a blessing that you had a doctor that would talk that frankly to you. I don't hear that from a lot of patients where,
you
and,
know,
and nothing against doctors, but it's almost like it's a little sugar coated, right? Which we know you can't do with diabetes. And so,
yeah.
what was your treatment at the time for diabetes? A lot of different medications?
Well, I was on insulin. At the time, I'm type 2, but I was on insulin and it wasn't working. I mean, it was my diabetes was, I was A1C, which is our main measure for that, is a 12. And which, if it stays up there for too long, you start having problems. And so, it wasn't working. I was doing exercise, but, at the end of the day, I just wasn't getting it done.
hmm And so you decided that you had to just take the bull by the horns. So, what was your first step in that? Because it is hard to lose weight. Again, here you're way over 300 pounds. You had a long way to go. How did you, where did you begin?
Well, I started with all your typical stuff. I did the weight loss programs that you hear about. The ones who've been around for a long time and things like that. I did get into the gym. I did start doing a variety of things there. I did all the things you're supposed to do. I started dieting. I went through these crazy liquid diets. I mean, went through all of it, but it didn't really work for me. And for whatever reason. And so I went down the more drastic stuff, looking at the medical options, whether it be drugs or something else.
Mhm. And so you decided, first of all, surgery was perhaps the best way since you wanted to make such a drastic change.
Well, this was 2016, right? And the drugs that we use today weren't really, they were brand new, and they weren't really prescribed for weight loss. They were prescribed something else. And so I went through the weight loss route. That was scary because you still know there are complications with those sort of things. I still deal with complications even every day to day. But that was a tool like anything else. And the biggest thing was whenever I got home and realized I couldn't eat my feelings anymore because I deluded myself for all these years that I wasn't doing that. And all of a sudden I had to find an outlet. And so that's when I started walking and doing other
Well,
things.
I love that you found the old-fashioned way would make a really big difference for you because we know that just relying on surgery often does not work for patients. I mean, you have to make some drastic lifestyle
Yeah.
changes. Life can be stressful. I'm sure it was stressful trying to lose weight. So
Yeah.
when you say that walking played a huge role in this, did you start out with small steps of just going a little ways and then build on that? Talk to us about that journey.
Yeah. So, I had a bad back. I had a bad knee. I had needed ACL reconstruction, so I couldn't just go run, right? So
Mhm.
that was obviously not something that was in the cards for me. plus you're 300 pounds.
Mhm.
So I walked at the end of the block and back. And every time I got stressed out or wanted to scream at somebody because I was stressed out, then I would go for a walk. And, the first day I walked 5 times, and then I walked 6 times, and then I walked, around the block, and then I walked down around 2 blocks, and then 3 blocks. And then where I lived, I was close to the bayou. So I would walk down to the bayou and back. And first time I did that was 1.7 miles. I didn't know how far it was. It took me an hour and a half. And whenever we sold that house and moved, I walked it the last time. It took me 27 minutes.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
So, but it did.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
So once these pounds started falling off, did that fuel you and that fire in you to keep walking and to keep moving and trudging on to lose weight?
It did. I've done a few 5Ks. The 10Ks I could do, but there's a time constraint. And I don't want to be bumping up against that too much. So I do quite a few, several 5Ks. I do the rodeo runs and those sort of things, and every time they come around, and a few other things as well. And then I kind of started trying to figure out what else do I need to get right, and that's what kind of led me down the path to Forever Young.
When we take a look at this picture, that says it all. That's almost two of you, right?
Yeah.
And it's just remarkable.
Yeah, it was that's my fat suit is what I call it. It's the last suit I had, but before I really started losing weight, and it was a size 58 coat and 58 pants.
Well, congratulations to you, because again, it's a huge challenge to make this happen. I know that weight loss has taught you a lot about life. It's certainly taught you how to really prioritize yourself and your health, and now you're helping other people. Before we get to that, I want to talk about eating. So did you change your diet drastically as well, besides doing the surgery and besides doing, all
Yeah,
the
the
walking?
yeah the biggest key to dieting to food really when you're trying to lose weight, and of course it does matter what you're doing, right? If you're using a tool like the surgery or the medication, you need to eat an awful lot of protein. That needs to be your focus. The biggest problem if you're going to some sort of serious diet or weight loss program is you lose muscle mass, and muscle mass loss is a big problem for later on. It's not a problem today, but you don't want to be that little old man, a little old woman, crunched over, worried about falling every day because you don't have any muscle mass to just keep you up. And this is not today. This is when you're 70.
Right.
And so that led me down this path of trying to get my hormones right. My testosterone was off. Everything else was off. And that again led me kind of back into Forever Young. So.
I want to get into Forever Young in just a moment, because this is
Yeah.
such a big part of your life now, where you're helping so many other people. Before we do that, though, I want to delve a little bit more into however comfortable you feel talking about your diabetes. So before, you were concerned about your numbers, you were concerned about your eyesight, losing your feet. There were so many problems that could have happened. How is that looking for you today? After
It's
this?
looking great. My A1C is down to 6.1, which is, mostly normal. It's considered pre-diabetes, but considering I'm already diabetic, that's a good place to be.
Mhm.
And it's looking great. Yeah.
That's for someone who doesn't know the normal levels. Do you know what those are that you could share?
Anything above 5.5 is considered pre-diabetes. 6.5 or above is considered diabetic.
Do you think you can ever get it to that normal level, or does your doctor think you're as close as you can get?
Yeah. So here's just to get to the complications. So I'm on the medication. It does make you not that hungry, which is great. But that also means is I don't have any space for anything because I already have a smaller stomach. So if I increase the dosage more from where I'm at today, I run the risk of being able to eat like nothing. And I don't want to go down to 140 pounds. I mean, I could, but I don't want to do that. So I want to maintain muscle mass. I want to maintain my health the way it is.
Right. And so it's just a fine line that you're having to walk, right?
Yeah.
Does your doctor feel like you'll ever be able to get off medications, that your body will just take over, or
Not me. Not
no?
me. No, we hoped that losing all the weight would fix it, and it definitely got better by itself, but it did not get all the way better.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you were completely out of the danger zone of those problems you were so worried about, though, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, everything's great from here. Yeah.
That's huge. That's really big. Okay, so let's bring in and talk about Forever Young and how this happened. So again, one reminder, this is where you began, and this is where you are now. So Forever Young we've got them all over the greater Houston area, and now you're an owner of one of them. What is Forever Young?
So the full name is Forever Young Anti-Aging Solutions. So think of anything that we can resolve as we get older. It could be your hormones are a little out of whack, and so you're having metabolic syndromes as a result of this. We want to make sure that your testosterone, your estrogen, progesterone for men and women is where they're supposed to be. We also want to address the issue around weight loss because you go into your 60s and you're overweight, it's going to be much more difficult to lose it. So we want to address that earlier on. And the medications we use help to fix a lot of these metabolic issues we also see. We also have a med spa, and we also do an IV therapy. So yeah.
And you even are you're brave to share a photo of yourself because you wanted to talk about some things that you do, because people who are on weight loss drugs right now especially are seeing major changes that they don't necessarily like, right? So talk to me more about how you're helping those people.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I faced was some volume loss in my face. And we hear about Ozempic face. We also talk about the loose skin and things that people get in their bodies.
Mhm.
I have all of that. Now, we also seek to kind of fix that. Sometimes it's just a skin treatment here. In this case, look at some volume, some filler, things like that. We also are kind of working to bring in some new machines here soon that help to kind of tighten your skin and do these sort of things on the cosmetic side. We want to fix the inside first. That's
Mhm.
important. And then my program also is we do counseling as well. I have a personal trainer on staff that she meets with everybody going through a weight loss program. And then I share my story and what's going on. And then I have medical staff that handles the medical side of this for everybody so that we're doing everything right. But we also want just the success. I want you to feel good about yourself when you get on the other side.
And I understand you've even developed your own weight loss program. Can you talk more about that and how it really might benefit somebody?
Yeah, most of the programs you see out there, they have one component out of two or three. Sometimes it's hit the medication for a good price and see you later. Sometimes it's the counseling and the physical training kind of help on the dietitian side, and we have that. And then we also have the third piece, which is making sure your metabolism is rolling properly. So think of like vitamin supplements. We usually do them through either an IV or through a shot that's designed to increase your metabolism naturally. So that when you get off these medications, you still got a metabolism that works, and you still got a little bit of support staff to kind of help you kind of get through that. If you do only one and not all three, the success rate is not nearly as good, and people revert back to some variation of where it was before.
And I'm just interested if you are open about your own journey with the people you are helping. Did they know your story? Do you have photos up that show
Yeah,
your story that
yeah,
would help inspire people?
I do. I show my picture every time somebody wants to. We'll look at them. My staff laughs at me because I'm like, let me show you a picture, and they just kind of roll their eyes.
Well, because it's so impressive, and I feel like it could give a whole lot of people hope. The people you're helping, are they losing a lot of weight like you, or is it more like 20 or 30 pounds, or is it all over the
Yeah.
place?
Yeah, so obviously everybody's a little different.
Mhm.
I've got some that have started on, and we have semaglutide and tirzepatide. Those are the two most common. Tirzepatide is
Mhm.
Manjaro, semaglutide is Wegovy. On semaglutide, it's usually a slower pace, but I've got one patient, she's lost 80 pounds in a year.
Nice.
And she's super happy. She referred, her friends and family over to us because she had great results. And so they're now
Wow.
seeing the same thing. On the tirzepatide, it's stronger, it works faster. And I have one patient, she's lost 75 pounds in 6 months.
Mhm.
And it's everybody's different, but and I've
Mhm.
got some they lost 10 pounds in 3 months, and they're like, I'm not seeing anything, but
Mhm.
I'm but they said, but at least I'm not going up anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah,
And we have seen a lot of people, it seems like more on social media than anything, where people are questioning, well, what's going to happen with these drugs in 5 or 10 years? Is it doing more harm than good? It seems like as a medical reporter, the doctors I've spoken with in the greater Houston area, the studies that I've been constantly trying to keep on top of are really pointing toward the more positive sides of things. What does your research show?
it is saying more positive. Part of the reason that we have the medical side here is we want to make sure we are cognizant of any potential medical problems that come up
Hmm.
during the process. We
Hmm.
follow the FDA guidelines. We slowly titrate, increase your dosage over time so that we are monitoring that. We won't give you more drugs if you don't come in and see us because we need to see you at least once a month. we require that, and we want to put our hands on you and have that personal discussion to make sure you're
Mhm.
okay.
And
Um,
that's huge. And I feel like the thing that I hear most from doctors is the patients who say, "Hey, I'm having side effects," and those are treated, then those patients go on to do fine. It's the people who just sort of tend to ignore those or they think it's not a big deal that ends up being a big deal. Has that been your experience as well?
it is, the self treating patients where they get 3 months worth and they take it
Yeah.
all in the first month. I mean, that's just
Hmm.
really dangerous. I
Hmm.
mean, there are side effects that had to be monitored. Some of the benefits that have been interesting. This is something that we've seen lately. If we have some RA patients that started on these drugs,
Hmm.
and these things actually are good for swelling. It's really weird. Like when one of them, her rings keep falling off. She goes, Jason, I couldn't do this before. Because it's one of these things that you don't think about. They don't talk about much, but inflammation throughout the whole body is
Hmm.
basically being overweight. But you take it down to the base level. If we can fix inflammation in the entire body, and these drugs help, they don't do it all, and you're not
Hmm.
taking a painkiller. That's a nice thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely it is. That's huge. And I'm sure you're seeing these other patients because a lot of times when you are overweight, it does lead to diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. The numbers go on and on. You're probably seeing their numbers come down just like yours, I bet.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got a few that have already kind of gotten off in just a short period of time. They've gotten off most of the meds, and doctors are happy. The doctors are always skeptical because that's their job is to protect their
Hmm.
patients.
Hmm.
But when they see the results and they see kind of how our program works, I've had discussions with a few of them. They're like, okay, well, we'll try it.
Yeah.
And the results speak for themselves.
Oh, that is so promising. I think for a lot of people who are dealing with something like this. Let's talk more about how you've been able to work through all this. Did you ever use your faith to get you through the hard times, or how did you? What do you do to get you through the hard times of of,
Well,
of all of this?
yeah, well, faith is a piece of me. Being a Baylor Bear, I mean, it's kind of ingrained in you a little bit. But at the same
Hmm.
time, I mean, you have to still ask for help,
Yeah.
and not everybody wants to do that. So, and it doesn't have to be, asking the Lord for help is what I usually did. And then
Hmm.
I asked for people that were in this world, and just trying to ask for any sort of help, any sort of guidance, and it was given, it was provided, it was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Well, and I always say for me, the power of, and that's why I felt comfortable asking you since you are a Baylor Bear. As you know,
Yeah.
we spent many days in chapel, and that was part of our curriculum at the university. But
Yeah.
I feel like the power of prayer, that there's nothing too big or little that you can ask for, and that brings me peace a lot. Did you find that helped you as well?
It did, yes, yeah. The biggest thing I prayed about and through all this mess, was the surgery, and then then trying to figure out. I was at a crossroads a few years ago when my wife was diagnosed with cancer. At the time, I was a stockbroker. I've been a broker for 25 years, managing money for people and owning my own company.
Hmm.
And I wasn't able to handle her cancer treatment and run the company at the same time, so I sold the firm. And then that took me down this weird path of ending up at Forever Young. But you pray along the way. I did a lot of praying, around cancer. I did a lot of praying on whether I should invest in a health thing that I've never done before. But the faith that I had in Lord and what I kind of believe kind of led me down this path.
Wow, that's huge because that is a lot to go through with your own health concerns and then your wife's, and
Yeah,
I'm happy to hear that it brought you peace.
yeah.
Well, so let's talk about, before we wrap up here today, how somebody would find out more about Forever Young. So is that something they just would start doing their own research online about you? Do they stop by if they're in the greater Houston area? How does that work?
Yeah, so they can go online and find out. My location is in the Heights area. We're at Heights and
Mhm.
White Oak. I would encourage you to just stop in and just ask if you're at the point where you're putting on weight, you're in your 30s or 40s, and it's starting to kind of pack on, and you're still doing all the things you've always done. That may not be something that we need to put you on a medication.
Yeah.
It may be that your hormones are changing a little bit, and in women that happens the closer you get to age 50, and so a small adjustment can be made there. If that doesn't work, then it's maybe something more drastic, like using the medications to do that.
Mhm.
But but we have the medical staff and we have the expertise to kind of help with any of these sort of things.
Hmm.
They get into IV therapies. One of the this is a weird thing, but I've noticed this myself. Um, if you are are dehydrated, if you're not keeping enough water in your body, if you are dieting so much, your body will hold on to a lot of the things that it shouldn't hold on to. It
Hmm.
needs the fluids to flush the things out. And that's
Hmm.
part of the reason we also have the IV therapy as part of our wellness program
Hmm.
is coming in and saying, look, let's give you the stuff so you can flush all the toxins out of your system. Let's help you flush them out and just feel great. And that's kind of the whole. That's why we're the whole wellness, the whole anti-aging, everything across the board. So it all plays into
Hmm.
it.
And did you have any mantra to keep you going through all of this, to go out and go for a walk when you didn't feel like it, or to eat a salad perhaps when you were wanting a steak? I mean, did
Yeah,
anything help get you through those hard times? Because anybody knows it's so hard not to have those days.
yeah, yeah. Well, I eat a lot of steak, but I like protein. I'm a carnivore, but that's okay. That's me. The biggest thing was I realized that I felt good when I exercised, and the harder I pushed myself, the better I felt. And I never felt that way in all the years. I was an athlete in high school, but once you leave school, that kind of disappears. And so there was this constant pushing, this constant, hey, let's make sure that I'm not just because it's raining, I'm not gonna walk. I would walk in the rain. I'd walk in. We didn't snow here, but I'd walk anytime it took because it had to get done, and I felt better as a result. So
Yeah, and I think that's huge. If somebody can just find something they love to do that makes them feel better, every time you're going to want to go back to it. I recently had something like that where I was just burned out of the gym, but I started Pilates and it has changed my life. I've lost
mhm.
weight, didn't even really need to,
Yeah,
toning up. And so it's just finding that thing that you adore where you can't get enough, and
yeah.
you feel better and you want to keep going back for more. Well, Jason, you're such an inspiration. Congratulations on your
Thank
success and
you,
good health to you. I hope everything keeps going in the right direction for you. And
thank you.
I hope a lot of people can learn from your situation. So
Hope
thanks for
so.
sharing it.
Thank you. Nice
All
talking to you.
right. Okay, you too.
Yeah, bye bye.
And just remind you all, you can join us for Lunch for the Soul every Tuesday and Saturday mornings at 10:30. I love having you here with us. If you have an idea, maybe you want to reach out, maybe you want me to talk to you and share your story, I would love to do that. Easiest way to reach me is probably melissa.wilson@fox.com. Just shoot me an email and I'll try to reach out to you. Hope you have a beautiful day. Thanks for blessing us by being here.